Well, hello, hello, hello. Leavers and believers. Welcome to Leaving Hillsong. My name's Tanya, and I am super thrilled that you are here with us today. Now, I have a bit of a confession to make. Last week we started talking about the show Prosper, which has been streaming on various platforms out there, and it's an Australian drama about a megachurch which is very, very closely aligned to some of the plot lines in real life. At the old Hillsong, I thought this file was a lot longer than it is, so I thought there was a lot more material to get through, and then, yes, it's going to be a bit of a shorter one, but that's okay. Really, behind the scenes, there's just so much going on, creating and making and chasing people and trying not to chase them too hard, so hold tight. My co host today, PCD, really loved this show, and it may well sound like there's some kind of affiliation going on, but there is not. Let me be clear, he just really likes this show. Or if there is, he hasn't told me. And while it's a little bit annoying, I do kind of like the idea that we've got a few storylines going on in the background. We have still got the continuation of the Mercy Ministries debacle. It just snowballs into more and more. One of the fantastic women that was sharing their stories over the episodes called Into the House has had a fantastic life experience, but that's taken her away from the pod inconveniently for all of us. So stay tuned. And we will continue the Prosper storyline and see how the various avenues we're attempting to explore pan out. I will warn you, we lunge into a bit of a discussion on suicide in this episode, so it's directly relevant, at least initially, to the episode we're discussing. And so let us continue with our take on Prosper.
Like, I saw shadows of the whistleblower, but I mean, again, that's just, we humans love recognizing patterns and taking guesses, right?
Oh,
So we came up, we got
I mean,
the,
this is some thinly veiled stuff at times, let's be honest. And some of the lines seem to have come directly out of people's mouths that, it's such private conversations. All right, let's begin. Would you mind giving us, a rundown of episode one, that pilot episode that lays the foundation for it all?
so just thinking about what happened in episode one, obviously, episode one establishes the context of the characters and starts to educate us and bring us along as to how it's going to tell us this story. It focuses on like the big halls, the fancy homes of the church elite, while
Yeah.
Cal's propensity for fine clothes, fine wine. There's a lot of alcohol consumed in the first
Yeah.
episode. I noticed.
And that's very deliberate, shall we say, because they're all drink. The Houstons really can handle their drink well, shall we say, right throughout that family.
Accidentally mix up your sleeping medication.
Well, it
Well,
only happened once, and it was one pill. I mean that happens to
one pill.
people all the time. But I mean, it really does run up the bills as well when you go to restaurants.
Yeah, it does.
Pricey stuff, drinking well for your entire family, and friends, and
But it also very clearly sets up the political context and the Labor Party in that first episode. The Australian Labor Party is actually explicitly referred to after Cal catches a private jet from Sydney to Canberra, which, is said by the business manager. They go to this luncheon and the Australian Labor Party is explicitly referred to as the devil. And
wow.
and the policy being the works of the devil, which everybody laughs to, type thing. But really, again, why is that in there? It's really not clever. So it talks about the way the church makes its money, abuses Rosa. She gets $32,000. 32, 23, $23,000.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. How does that come out?
Oh, well, look, she comes home, finds a kite on cocaine. Her husband, who presumably wouldn't touch the stuff, but he is drunk as a monkey to the point where he beats the living hell out of Rosa,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
these $8,000 until Cal turns up with his security guards, and Cal and the husband take a punch at each other. Rosa is taken by Cal to a very nice hotel room. And of course, this is where the first event that really sets off the action of the whole series occurs, because they both get right on the gig. And you've heard about the sound of $50,000. Well, you get to see the sound of $50,000 going right up their noses. That's the action that sets off the drama of the series. It really gives it
Yeah.
that push up. So that's the trick.
The big start. It sure is. Yeah.
Absolutely. The opening scene is really interesting. He cuts to a close-up of Cal's face, and he's standing in darkness with bright light on him, and he's going, he is literally calling out in a loud voice, "Can you hear me? Are you there? Can you hear me?" And of course, that's meant to deceive us, make us think that he's calling out to God. This is again a recurring theme. Cal is constantly finding himself being tested by God by
Mm,
mechanism of not being able to hear God and not being separated from God or feeling somehow alone. But he sees this as the way God tests him. But of course, what he's doing is he's standing on stage, another repeat message right the way through that I think is very personal, because the Eustons hated the platform upon which the pulpit was.
what do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean?
Well, a stage is in the theater where make-believe things happen, right? And the constantly calling that platform with the pulpit on it a stage was
Mm.
something, I know used to Ryle Bryan, like these are in the very early days, maybe
I
he turned it.
see. Okay.
So it's a constant little stab, right? This is all make-believe. This is a show, because it all happens on stage, and that's where shows happen. So again, just little carefully curated acts of nastiness just to stick it to them, a little bit. It's really interesting.
I mean, again, to throw in an example, like I've worked with, script writers and people, all kinds of people want to make shows. All kinds of people want to make shows about this because, there's so much content, and it's
Right.
just gobsmacking stuff. But even people, who have studied it and spent time with people, there's all kinds of phrases or, they'll say mass instead of church or, things that just little things that come out. And these
Yeah.
guys just had the opposite. They had the kind of opposite effect. They knew their stuff and, tiny details and very interesting. They're very interesting. Yes.
And you need to know those such things if you're going to, when it comes time to deciding who gets which Christmas presents. You're thinking back to a previous pod. But
Mhm.
anyway, so of course, all of that cocaine disappears up their nostrils, and that starts the drama of the series. So Rosa suicides in episode 1, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it's presented as a suicide. She winds up on Bondi Beach at North Bondi, at the other end of Bondi to where the house is. This is after she turns up uninvited at a pride donors, very well dressed, launch at Cal's Abby's private residence. And of course, she walks in a little bit tipsy and knocks drinks on people and, falls on the pie in the cake table or something. So she gets thrown out, and Cal ostracizes her, or he excommunicates her really from the church on the advice of the business manager, right? Because let's face it, when it comes to Christ's church, you want to decide who's welcome or not welcome based on advice from the business manager. Anyway, so that happens, and within 12 hours, Rosa is dead. Now,
Yeah, it's brutal.
it's brutal. And this is something the show does every episode again and again and again, is it stacks the brutal moments and the brutality on top of each other in certain points during the episode. And this occasion, it occurs at the end of the episode. So you have the very confronting portrayal of Rosa's fate, where she's found with her eyes open in the early morning surf at Bondi.
In a party dress. Yeah. And I don't
Right.
know. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you can remember, you and I had a brief conversation and I said to you, I mean, do you think there have been people that have killed themselves over Brian or women that have killed themselves over Brian? And you said some very, very interesting things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, and again, I remember it well because the answer is so self-evident to me. Of course, there would have been suicides. Of course, some of those, they would have fallen into various categories, some of them unavoidable, some of them, and I refer to very unfortunate uh, association between mental health, very serious mental health issues
Yep.
and
Yeah.
suicide. But we can't put that on Hillsong. But there will be a proportion of those deaths to people that just are not getting the care that they need. They took the message of Hillsong, which of course was all about how important you are, and how
Yeah.
it's time
Yeah.
you can give your way to prosperity and pray your way to good health. And the gap between that, these people grabbed onto that.
Yep.
These people grabbed onto it and they believed it. Gap between that and reality, of course it would have led to suicide. But in this country, of course, not only in the same way that we don't record homeless people deaths as a separate category, we don't record religious trauma deaths as a separate category either. And
Yeah. Of course.
shame on us. Sorry, guys, a bit of a roll there. You touched the
Not at
nerve.
all. Yeah, not at all. I mean, we know there have been countless, obviously countless episodes of suicide, self-harm, hospitalizations due to mental health crises because of these folk, because of their teaching. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked about it over the last couple of weeks. It's that idea as well of, they carry on business as usual, knowing how damaging the material can be. It's cause and effect is basic cause and effect we have found empirically, but I'm sure there's more
Let's just say,
research on it out there on sexuality and these
absolutely.
people.
You did the bingo word there. I think, Tanya, like in the absence of having numbers, before we come out of this rabbit hole or go any deeper into it, in the absence of having numbers, the one thing that everybody listening to this pod will agree and will know, and be able to agree with us on, is that the Christian churches, and I mean the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, the Russian Church, anybody over the last 2,000 years, but especially over the last, let's say 200, just to make it easy. But the Christian church's teaching is responsible for countless teenage deaths that are the result of these young men and women being what the church says is perverse, not being condemned, not for what they do, like the rest of the people who can go and confess it's what you do. But these people, the church condemns for who they are. So we know. We know.
And we've heard story after story on this very show. And I had, there's all kinds of questions when you start research like this about, what other factors play into people's decisions. But I got to tell you, I've spoken to person after person who said, it was a choice between dealing with this church, leaving this church,
Yes.
or, ending my own life. And it's
Yeah.
as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, that continued hatred is attempted murder. It's they
Absolutely.
know what they're doing and they carry on anyway. And that's what's so stark again about this Rosa character on this show is she's lying there dead on the same beach where they're throwing their parties and, they don't miss a beat.
Within earshot. And it's interesting. So the episode closes, and I love this. I thought it spoke volumes. So you've got Rosa laying there, and then it juxtaposes that, how it's, just the heartless way she was treated. It juxtaposes that with the way this family actually treats its own members, because we cuts to the next scene, and it's Sunday morning or the next morning, and they're in church. They're in the auditorium, and Izzy is on stage. The family's on stage playing. There's worship going on. I thought the worship was a little bit. They have got that up a little bit, but I mean, it's interesting. And as the praise and worship leader for the Sunday morning service announces Cal, yes, please welcome to the stage our amazing pastor, his wife's Abby, leans over to him and says, Cal, Rosa was found dead this morning. She was found dead on the beach. And so the applause starts, and Cal is meant to get up and go. And that's the first of the unbelievable hatred, what this couple do to each other. Now, really needs to be seen to believe the dynamic between the two of them. They think they are,
Yeah.
I mean, they think
Yeah.
they love each other and support each other very much. They tear shreds off each other. She tears shreds out of him, and she goes out of her way to undermine and sabotage him, almost as a matter of reflex. He, on the other hand, he is patronizing to her. He does not listen to her. She actually barely registers, I think, as a person thinking
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
He
Okay.
led her voice. He treats her appallingly. So far as these people's values are just so, it's brilliant. It's brilliant the way they do it.
Well, and we've all got questions about how do people, behave ruthlessly at their place of work and then what, go home and be the family guy or girl or whatever. How do people who this is their whole lives, it's been their
Yep.
lives since birth or at least as a young teenager,
Mm.
pretty
Right.
much all they've ever known. It's all they do. It's all they socialize with. It's everything to do with their work, their personal, everything. What do they
Right.
just switch it off for their family?
Yes.
Mm,
And especially when the family is so embedded in the institution.
as
And
well.
it's hard to tell the difference. Where did the family stop and the institution start? It's amazing the way that they do it. But we did see a crack in Cal. The episode closes, right, after she's thrown him under the bus. She basically stabbed him in the throat, figuratively, as he's walking up to deliver the Sunday morning sermon. Might have been some more unbelievable, it might have been more intelligible drivel than others are treated to on a Sunday morning, just saying.
Mhm.
So the episode closes with a crack appearing in Cal because he gets up in the middle of the night that night and he starts digging a grave in the backyard of his house. He steps up, grabs the shovel, you see him walking across the lawn, and he just starts digging. And that's the beginning, the alpha and the omega of episode 1. And it's
But isn't that the cocaine? Because that's what happened on Family Ties where Alex P. Keaton took too many, he got on the speed one episode and he went out and did the gardening at 2 a.m. And I thought that's how you. So it was a grave, was it?
yeah. Well, I assumed it was a grave, unless he was actually been looking in his vegetable garden, but
Wow.
it seemed pretty obvious to me. And there are several flashbacks in later episodes
Wow.
as well.
Wow.
That's the way the episode closes.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Oh.
And that's just episode 1.
And that's just episode 1. Thank you all for tuning in to the shortish episode. I am surprised there hasn't been more of a kind of a discussion or a, cyber sleuthing situation going on with this show. There has been a lot of work gone into it. I haven't watched it multiple times like PCD has. I should watch it again. But yeah, it's lots and lots of layers and details and, as we keep saying, like up close and personal information. There's got to be either several leaks or a very, very good source. Would, of course, love your views, your points of view, your perspectives on what you've picked up in the show. It's one of a kind. I mean, imagine 5 years ago This would never have been possible, not on this level. There's been some really good productions. I always liked Saved with Mandy Moore, that movie. I thought that was really good. Leap of Faith with Steve Martin. But this was, yeah, very personal. So please send us a message, leave a comment. And you know, if you want to get in touch for any other reason, just share your story. If you want to come on down on the pod and you're feeling a bit more comfortable, get in touch. We can tailor make something for you. Stay in touch. Stay tuned. Loads more coming up. Please be kind to yourselves and please just be kind to the people around you. And keep leaving Hillsong. And we'll talk soon. Bye.